It's another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily, episode 2068, and I'm Dr. Neal Malik. Hey there, happy Friday, and welcome to another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily, where I answer your health questions related to fitness, diet and nutrition, and lots more. You send in the questions, and I answer them for you. And stay tuned. At the end of the episode, I'll share how you can be rewarded for sending a question in. Now, if you want to know more about me and my background and my credentials and why I call myself Dr. Neal most of the time, definitely check out the first Q&A episode from earlier this month. That's where I go into details about all of that. But for now, I'm going to spare you from that long intro so we can get right to today's question and optimize your life. Today's question came via email. Rick writes, "Hi, Dr. Neal. I've been listening to your show for years and have learned more than I ever imagined. Your choice of articles and science-based commentary is fantastic. I'd like to ask a question about weightlifting. After deciding how to structure your workouts, total body, push-pull leg routine, bro split, and so on, is it important to switch up exercises regularly? In other words, does it help to rotate exercises, or can I stick to one exercise and perform multiple sets?" Thank you for taking the time to send in your question, longtime listener Rick, and thank you so much for your kind words. I'm so glad you enjoy this show and find it so helpful. Now, I'm going to start with the general guidelines from the American College of Sports Medicine. This is my go-to whenever I get asked questions about exercise. This is because the American College of Sports Medicine is considered one of the most reputable when it comes to exercise guidelines. So here's what they say about resistance training specifically. Aim to train 2 to 3 times per week and work each of the major muscle groups. They also recommend incorporating some balance, agility, and coordination exercises. They go on to say that the exercise program should be modified according to the person's current level of physical activity, their health status, how their body responds to exercise, and their individual goals. Then, when you hit the gym to perform these exercises, the recommendation is to perform one set of exercises for each major muscle group. So, you would want to perform one set of exercises for the quadriceps muscles, then, after a 1 to 3 minute rest period, perform one set of exercises for the hamstrings, then rest for another 1 to 3 minutes and perform one set of exercises for the calves. Then, you guessed it, rest for another 1 to 3 minutes, and maybe move on to the shoulders, perform one set there, then the chest, rest, move on to the arms. Follow this same pattern until you've hit all the major muscle groups, and then you're done. Okay, so that's a very nice, very general recommendation for beginners. Rick, it sounds like you're not a resistance training newbie, so I'm going to assume you're familiar with most of these concepts and have moved beyond this type of training. Luckily, the American College of Sports Medicine has stated that using a split body routine can be helpful for muscle growth and improved strength. A split body routine is where selected muscle groups are trained during one session, and then the remaining muscle groups are trained in the next. For most, they do recommend a 2 to 3 day rest in between these sessions. This is because they found that this rest period will provide the best conditions to stimulate muscle growth and strength gains. Now, a separate meta-analysis, a meta-analysis that wasn't performed by the American College of Sports Medicine, found that working the muscle groups for up to 3 days per week may be even more beneficial. Whether that's achieved through a push-pull leg routine, a total body workout, or a split routine, didn't seem to matter. Instead, making sure that you hit the major muscle groups 3 days per week was just superior to hitting it just 2 times per week. Now, would working our muscles more than 3 times per week lead to even more significant gains? We can't say. Instead, the authors of this meta-analysis said they wouldn't advise this because the risk of overtraining and injury increases when you start to work those muscles more than 3 times per week. Now, earlier on this week, I read an article that talked about the benefits of sticking to the same exercises, so that instead of worrying about confusing your muscles, it may be better to stick to some of the same exercises and gradually increasing the weight or the sets to help the muscles grow bigger and stronger over time. Christian Finn, the author of this article I was referring to, recommended that providing your muscles with a challenge may be the most helpful thing to do. He gave the example of lifting 100 pounds between 5 and 8 times for 4 sets. This volume of training may be enough for some folks to build muscle and get stronger. But we know that over time, the body will adapt to that amount of weight and that volume of exercise, and therefore will eventually stop growing. So what to do? Christian recommended we find a way to challenge the muscle differently. The possibilities of finding ways to challenging the muscles differently are endless. We could perform an extra repetition using the same amount of weight, or we could add some more weight and try to perform the same number of repetitions, or we could complete an extra full set of the same exercise at the same weight. There are other options too, like using a workout ladder or pyramid, but these suggestions are a good starting point. You don't have to make these adjustments though every time you go to the gym. Instead, think about incorporating one or two of these techniques every 3 to 4 weeks. The key is to be consistent. Perform resistance training 1 to 3 times per week. Then find new ways to challenge your muscles using what I just described. Now, you could use a total body workout, a push-pull leg routine, or a split routine. As long as you're following these general guidelines, you'll probably continue to see those gains in muscle size and muscle strength. Think about someone who has changed your life for the better. How incredible would it be if your company could find more of those life-changing people right when you needed them? If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform helping over 3 million businesses worldwide to do it all. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates. Over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates the moment they sponsor a job. I especially love Indeed's Instant Match feature because candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in search, according to US Indeed data. Indeed knows that finding people with the right skills makes all the difference when you're a hiring team of one. Visit Indeed.com/health to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/health. Indeed.com/health. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Thank you again so much for taking the time to send in your question, Rick, and thank you so much for being a longtime listener of the show. Remember, we're now giving away copies of our hardcover Optimal Living Daily Workbook if you send in a relevant question. So if you want that mailed to you and you're in the US, send in a question before we run out of them. If you're outside of the US, we'll be happy to email you a PDF version of our workbook. You can email a question to health@oldpodcast.com. Or if you want to send in an audio question, just come by oldpodcast.com/ask to record straight from your computer. It's really easy. You can even do retakes before sending it in. Or again, just send an email to health@oldpodcast.com. All right, that's another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily. Thank you for listening every day. Thank you for listening all the way through. Thank you for sending in your questions. And I hope you have a great start to your weekend. And I'll see you back here tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.